Thank you, Laska Hirlock, and I move the motion this afternoon here. Minister, you're very welcome to the House this afternoon to discuss this motion, which deals with the very foundation of our democracy as representatives of the people, local government. All of us in this House have a deep understanding of just how foundational local government is in the running of this country. Not a week goes by that local government issues aren't raised by a member of the Seanad, or a local issue isn't communicated to us from one of our City and County Councillors. They are the first point of contact for the millions of people of this country whom we represent, and they are the first line of defence in solving so many of the problems that threaten the social and civic life of our towns and our areas. In spite of this, Ireland's local government has been subjected to continuous and systemic disempowerment across multiple national governments. The representative bodies have been fighting tooth and nail against the steady erosion of the ability of councillors to effect the real change that they are mandated by their electorate to bring about. While I, along with Senators Craughwell and Boyhan, feel that our short and concise motion speaks for itself, the main pillars of the problem are these three. 1, the dominance of the central government over the local. 2, the dominance of the executive over elected members. And 3, the complete lack of structural consultation by the government with the representative bodies of our council. We have seen great results arising out of cooperative engagement between your department, Minister, and the associations of the local government and the Local Authority Members Association. The issue of the elected members' gratuity scheme and the pay and non-pay supports for councillors has seen great progress as a result of consultation and cooperation. Of course, further consultation and examination of the situation on an ongoing basis will always be necessary. The granting of a security allowance to councillors was a wise step in the right direction. As the political realm becomes even more tumultuous, the physical safety of our elected members and their families is more important than ever. While it is unfortunate the grant is only half that of what national politicians receive, it is certainly a step in the right direction and a move that is welcomed. But, Minister, there are many more areas where serious work needs to be looked at and where I think a change in approach or in policy is necessary from this government. One of the elephants in the room is the Planning and Development Bill, many of the provisions of which amount to huge blows to the democratic mandate of councillors when it comes to the new Code of Planning legislation. The bill's copper fastening of the centralised approach to planning does not take account of local circumstances and needs as identified by the elected members. Local authorities, as planning authorities, are no longer the prime movers in terms of spatial planning and in this country, but are now bound by a rigid straitjacket of plans at national and at regional levels. The AILG has raised that the draft bill proposes that the duration of the development plan will be extended to 10 years from the existing 6. Such a long duration will open up a democratic deficit whereby all the elected members of the planning authority may not be able to make an input to the spatial planning of their locality. Furthermore, the pace of change in modern Ireland and modern life under the headline of climate, economy and technology is too dynamic to allow such a lengthy interval between development plans. It is quite clear that the power being given to the Minister to issue binding national planning statements and directives will have the effect of excessively centralising planning policy. It would be much more appropriate for the Minister to consult the representative bodies of the elected members of planning authorities in advance of issuing binding national statements. Minister, councillors represent citizens and communities. With regards to judicial review, it really does harm the ethos that judicial review is being limited and in some circumstances to incorporated bodies, thus denying individuals and community groups the opportunity to exercise their concerns about a particular development through the courts. This power should be granted to councillors in order to allow them to best represent the views of their constituents. These are just some of the steps that could be taken to empower local government, but as our motion states, the last year and a half has shown the pattern of systemic disempowerment from the government. Removal of the Section 1A3 reserve function for disposal of County Council owned land to the Land Development Agency. Removal of Part 8 planning reserve function until December 24 for the Council's own housing developments. Removal of councillors from governing authorities of universities under the Higher Education Authority Act 2022. Councillors will be removed from their role on joint policing committees once they are replaced by safety partnerships when the Policing, Security and Community Safety Bill 2023 completes all stages in the Seanad. And we, as independents, have put down motions to stop that. There is zero consultation on the government's guidelines on traffic work procedures, Section 38 of the Road Traffic Act 1994. And this has had such far-reaching implications for the public and our councillors. What is the explanation for this, Minister? Why does the government want so badly to hamstring their own county councillors? It seems like it is government policy to steadily suck the power up through the ranks and consolidate it at the very top in Cabinet at the expense of all other elected reps. I think that the request here today, Minister, is very clear. We need communication, we need cooperation, we need a well-balanced system on government that affords local government sufficient weight and appropriate powers and resources to carry out their duties in service of our democracy. The AILG and LAMA have been involved in roundtable discussions by government. I have zero doubt that it would bring about huge benefits for literally everybody involved. I hope you can accept this motion, Minister, and I commend it.
Thank you, Lascar. Look, and I do formally second the motion. Minister, you're very welcome to the House. I think this is my first time to address you since you were elevated as Minister, and I'm very happy for you, a good local representative yourself in your time. Look, we're talking here about the erosion of powers in local authorities, and I think it's important that we put things in context at the very outset. I don't believe any government or any member of this House or the lower house have any interest in disempowering local authorities, but what we do have is we have a civil service that is interested in disempowering local authorities and moving more and more decision making into the Customs House and the like. It is no secret amongst my colleagues here that the Council of Europe has regarded the local authority system in Ireland as one of the weakest in Europe right now. Our representative bodies, LAMA and AILG, yes, we are elected by county councillors, and as such they are our constituency and we should be supporting them. And quite frankly, they are extremely concerned about the disempowerment of local authorities and the sidelining of them as the people who are on the ground, who have first point of contact with the citizens within the areas that they are living. And as a result of an invitation of the Leader of the House and the last Cathaoirleach, we had local authority members in here from the regions who all made their points very strongly. And there are a number of serious areas that my colleague has mentioned. The policing bill is before the House. I know that that's not your area of responsibility, but I would ask you to engage with the Minister on it. It is outrageous to think that we would have local authority members removed or their power if you want, reduced within policing authorities. I know we're moving to a new structure, but The real people we need there are the people who are on the ground, who know what's happening, who know the individuals in the areas around them. And you'll recall yourself back in Limerick, local authority played a huge part in cleaning up Limerick back in the bad old days when we had some pretty tough people in the town. And Limerick has turned out to be a fantastic place since. And in fact, it should be a model for cities and counties around the country in how you can tackle crime. But it was local authority members supported by members of this House. And I know because I was involved with you at the time, and I know the work that you put in, and I know the work that your local authority members put in. But by disempowering them, first and foremost, we're now finding, and I believe this is the case in the political parties, I can't be sure, but I'm told anecdotally, that people no longer want to run for local authorities. They no longer want to be involved in local authorities because they see no benefit in it. I remember in 2014, when I first came into this House and when I took on the issue of councillors' pay, I remember a former colleague telling me that we don't do that on the floor of the House, we do it quietly in the corridors. We do it on the floor of the House. We tackle the difficult issues on the floor of the House, and we should never be afraid to do that. And I've never known you yourself, Minister, because we know each other a long time, I've never known you to be afraid to take on difficult issues. And we need to stop the rot. We need to get behind our local authority members. In a very short few months, even if the government lasts right up to 15 months from now, we will be going back out to our local authority members. Those of you who want to run for the Dáil will be looking for your local authority members to get behind you, to get canvasses going in the various districts. And there are some great people out there who will break their necks to help people get elected. Similarly, 90 days after that, I will spend the 90 days travelling the country, meeting every county councillor in the country. And I will be able to do it with my head held high because I have never been shy about coming forward on the issues that concern them. Yes, the accusation that I was never a member of a local authority can be put against me, but I think my record will stand for itself when the time comes. I think when we look at things like security, the personal security of county councillors, when we look at connectivity, telephone and broadband has been reduced, the amount of money they have in it. Why, Minister, when I get an allowance to carry out my parliamentary duties and they call it an allowance, it is a sum of money that is not subject to tax. When a county councillor gets an allowance, we call it a pay, and we tax it and we insure it, and we expect them to run their offices. And you know yourself, every one of you guys in this room, this House, know the number of people that come up to you as an elected representative looking for you to support this charity or that charity or the other charity. The money we give our county councillors is a pittance as to what the value that they deliver in their local communities. The security, they have to fight hard to get security for their homes, particularly women that serve in county councils. Politics in general is woman unfriendly, and I see women in here. I have to say the last minister that was just in here had the courage to stand up and take maternity leave, and fair play to her. I think she's the first in the country to do it. But we should have a system in place where members of local authorities who are female, who have had a child, can watch from home and vote from home. That's what cherishing county councillors would be about. That's what giving them power would be about. Planning, they should be involved in planning. I wonder where we are going with respect to disempowerment in the area of planning. I am certain, coming to the end of the time that I have here, I could spend the time slagging off my colleagues and saying that they're doing nothing for them. I don't believe anybody in this House is doing nothing for the people that elect them. I believe they tried their damnedest, but I believe we are caught in the sights of the bureaucrats who want to control everything. And then you go out into the council itself and you find that councillors in some councils, a very small few I will agree, are facing up against extremely powerful bureaucrats who do things their way. We have to get back to empowering our county councillors, to make them feel valued, to make them know that they are running local democracy, and that we should have a system here. I have a system in my house. If you call to my house and complain about dustbins or roundabouts or whatever else, I am a national politician. I can't help you. I will give you a list of county councillors that you can go and talk to, and they'll help you. And that's the way it should be. I should not be stepping into the Dáil. It's not my business. It's not where I am. I'm in the Senate, and this is where I should be. So I think we need to go back and recalibrate politics, give power to the people where they are, where they lie. Our job here is to scrutinise legislation, and that's what we should be doing. We should not be meddling in your area, and you should not be meddling in the area of county councillors. I want to see our councillors cherished, I want to see them empowered, and I want to see us take steps to ensure that county councillors are not regarded as cannon fodder to be used at elections and nothing else. And I think, Minister, I know you a long time, I think you'd agree with me at the end of the day. I know that you yourself have sponsored some very strong people in the next local election, some very good friends of mine who will, I'm sure, do extremely well when the time comes. So I think I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Cathaoirleach, and I want to welcome the Minister, and I want to thank everyone who's taken in this debate now. I want to also welcome again Dermot Lacey, Councillor Dermot Lacey from Dublin City Council. Might I say, he's not the only one. I've just had a text in, Senator Cassells is on fire, but he's right. Don't want to embarrass you. I think you're right too. And yes, I think you're on fire and you're passionate about local government, and I commend you for that. Minister, I want to welcome you, and I think you have been a reforming minister, and perhaps one of the best I've come across since I'm here 7 years. I was elected to Oireachtas Down County Council back in the 90s, and I have to say it was the best day and still the highlight of my political career. Tomorrow, if I was to lose my seat in the Senate, I would certainly contest the next local elections. That's my commitment and that's my interest. I am on fire in my belly about local government. I believe in it, I like it. And what greater honour to be elected by a community that accepts you and you are part of, and circumstances bring us in different places and different communities. And I had the pleasure at a few days old landing in Dunleary. My origins are from Kildare, and I took to that place. I love it. It is my hometown, and I represent it, and I said I'd be knocking on the door again, and still a bit of life in me yet. So I want to see local government thrive. I want the powers devolved. But we can talk about devolving powers to local government, but let's remember, in the last 7 years I've been here, there were many opportunities where senators had to stand shoulder to shoulder and support local authority members, and they didn't do it. There were many motions. Indeed, I'll share it with you. I keep an Excel in my office of every vote that is taken here. And I think that's important. So we need to remind ourselves about our renewed vigour, our renewed commitment to local government. We have many opportunities. The bar is put in front of us and we don't always deliver. I, of course, have the privilege. I am not whipped. I'm not a member of a political party. I'm an independent senator, as I was for some time. PDs, I think they left me, I didn't leave them. They were gone by the time my term ran out. But just to say, so I want to give a plug for independent politics. Really important, and I hope to see a very large range of independent candidates right across the 31 local authorities. And there's a place for them, as there is a place for parties. But one thing I'll say, we're not whipped, we're independent. I can stand here and say and advocate for what I believe in, and I know you do too, but you're in a party and there's a collective, and I accept how the system works. But Minister, just in short, look, it's important that we support our councillors. The remuneration is not satisfactory. And I think we need to look at that again. I believe it certainly should be 4 times your finishing salary. I think there are issues about that. This week alone, 10 councillors have contacted me to say that they're not, 7 of them are women, who are not running for local elections. Some of them have only had 1 term. There is high pressure, there's social media, there's huge demands. As one person put it to me, how could I do it? It's a full-time job for a part-time pay. That's as they see it. The harassment, the hassle, the pressures that they're on. They're internally having struggles with the management structures there. They're not supported, and so there's a real issue. Let's not be fooling ourselves. We only have local administration. We do not have local government in this country, and we need to aim at that. Continuous governments for years have centralised local government. They've taken powers away from local authorities. So I've touched on the gratuity. That needs to be addressed. One of the reasons that motivated myself, and particularly Senator Keoghan, and I know Senator Crockwell and McDougall, but Senator Keoghan and myself were summoned to a meeting of LAMA about 2 weeks ago. It was held in the Fianna Fáil party rooms. First time I was ever there. They reminded me that I couldn't be too critical of Fianna Fáil because I was in their rooms. So I was quite tough with them, actually. And I told them, if you want to cross the card and come to mine, we can discuss business. But they lectured us at great extent. And I said, you don't need to lecture me. I stand over my record in relation to local government and councillors. But they were, to be fair to them, represented their organisation, which is LAMA. And they talked about the gratuity. They talked about not being valued. They talked about not being respected. They talked about powers being eroded. They particularly talked about the Part 8s in the process. These are things, by the way, Minister, that your government and your party's in government a long time have presided over. So they were frustrated. But we had a robust exchange, and I gave them a commitment. We would do something about it. So for those executive of LAMA listening in here tonight, we made a commitment. We're here tonight. It's being debated in the Shannon, and I look forward to talking to you again either tonight or tomorrow to tell you and ask you what you thought about deliberations. I want to thank this AILG. They have done amazing work in terms of advocating too for local authorities, and they need to be supported. You will recall, members, when we had Mara, there was a proposal to put councillors on that. It was not supported by members of this House. You will recall when there's a proposal from councillors to increase the amount of councillors in the Dublin issues around the Mayor and the Citizens' Assembly. We had another roll call vote there. Were not supported. Yet Dublin councillors had asked for more representation. Now, we don't all get it right, but I want to make the point we've had opportunities. What councillors are saying to me, Minister, too, that they're not lawyers, and I think Senator Fitzpatrick covered this, they're not lawyers, they're not planners, and they're not financial experts. So they do need independent legal advice, independent planning advice, and independent financial advice, and I think you should give that to them. So, Minister, look, the gratuity is an improvement, but I am now seriously worried. I believe after Christmas we will have anything up to 200 or 300 councillors saying they're not going to run again. Democracy, local democracy is under stress, it's under pressure, and I think we need to steady the nerve. We need to say we stand shoulder to shoulder with our city and county councillors. We need to support the AILG and LAMA to do their work and start looking at a roadmap, a road plan of how we're going to devolve powers from central government to local government. That's what this motion seeks to do, and I know we will have cross-party support from everyone in this House, and I know, Minister, at the end of the day you will support those objectives too.
Thank you very much, Lance Keirlock. And Minister, thank you so much for coming in here this evening for this motion, and thank you for not opposing the motion as well. And if we could have a copy of your speech, I know most of it was off the cuff, that would be absolutely excellent, so we can circulate it to our councillors around the country. I want to thank the government parties for not opposing this motion. I want to thank the 13 senators that turned up here tonight for this really important debate. I am so privileged to be elected in here by the county councillors of this country. And it's a shame we didn't see more senators in here this evening. At the end of the day, they're elected in here by the ordinary elected members of our local authorities, and they really should have been in here tonight to champion the work that they do. But I just want to take some of the quotes that I've listened to here tonight in relation to what the senators said. Setting them up to take a beating. Councillors don't get the due recognition for the level of work they put into the job. Do we want local democracy or administrative areas? The Development Plan 2023 should have a review phase after 5 years. Powers are being stripped away. Part 8 was not necessary to tinker around with. For the last 25 years, the councillors have been pushed aside. Local, regional and central government, it doesn't work. It leads to endless frustrations. Councillors take the temperature of their populations. The role of the councillors are being diminished. We need a rebalancing of powers. It's a vocation. It's not about the money. The workload has increased considerably. It's a full-time job for part-time wages. And Minister O'Donnell, I want to thank you for the input that you have put into this department. You have delivered on the gratuity pay, you've delivered on the security allowance, and also I thought Peter Burke was one of the finest local government ministers that we've seen for a very, very long time. Because he, I suppose, after pressure from the independents here, I'd like to think that we were very instrumental in delivering that pay increase for the county councils around the country. And even though it's not a living wage, and people are, the stark reality of our conversations this evening is Victor Boyan's contribution, where you could see maybe 200 people not taking up and running for election after Christmas this year. And that it would be so sad to lose so much expertise, so much value that they bring to the communities. To see 200 people stepping out of politics, it would be really, really sad to see. I want to thank the department as well. I know that there was 120,000 allocated towards training for all councillors, and that's coming out in the next week. And I know that the independent group have secured some of that funding, and we will be trying to get as many independent women elected into local government going forward. And I also took part in the Migrant Council mentoring scheme as well, and that was really, really useful, because I think it's important that we work with the migrant communities and ethnic communities within our country as well, to bring them forward into politics and show them the way. The public consultation sessions that were held here the last day by Senator Mark Daly and Shane Cassels and that group, and Victor Boyne, I believe, is on that as well. I want to thank you as well. I wasn't here that day, I ended up in hospital, but you know, I heard it was a very productive meeting, and I would have loved to have been here, but please God, I'll be here at the next one. Mary Fitzpatrick spoke about the councillor, the skills that are needed now to be a councillor. You need to be a planner, you need to be a solicitor, you need to be a social worker. And you know, the AILG do a fabulous job when it comes to training councillors. They absolutely do. The training that they provide every single year for county councillors is second to none. So I want to commend them. I want to commend Lama and their advocacy as well for the county councillors on the ground. But with regards to the JPCs, it's so important to have a county councillors that are representative of every municipal area on those JPCs. They know what's rumbling on the ground. They know what's happening. They're the people that are keeping the Gardaí informed about antisocial behaviour or any little incident that is happening in their community. So shutting them and putting them out in the cold is not the way forward to run JPCs. So look, thank you so much, and thank you for not opposing it. And I want to just say that the contribution by Shane Cassels here this evening was an award-winning Oscar performance. I know he's taking part in the Oscars for his local football club, and I think he got great training here tonight. So I want to wish him well in that fundraising effort as well. So thank you very much, Minister.